And I find it pretty interesting that I have that different side of the coin there. Michael Savage, it's okay for me to hear him use terms I've used, to hear him echo what I've said, but to hear other people. See, I think the difference there, how I separate the two, is that Michael using my material or borrowing or echoing would be proper. Those things, that's all he's doing is borrowing or echoing. The other people I'm seeing is general stealing. Like they don't have their own creativity. They have a lack thereof, or they don't have the means to come up with new stuff every week, so they borrow or take or steal or whatever term you want to give it from me. And I guess because I don't rehash the stuff I do, or very seldom. I keep innovating and making my own content. It bothers me more that somebody on my level or lower than me with less listeners is copying me versus like a big time radio host. Another thing that has changed since I think the election, actually, I'm if you can't tell, I'm a little more on the upbeat side, and a little bit is going to change with the radio show over time here. I feel more free to do a few things. In fact, I feel like a poem right now. So, do you mind out there, listeners? Do you mind if I read you a poem I wrote for this occasion? I hope you don't mind. Sabotage cannot stop us. Jealousy will not sway us. Take from us what you can, but try to steal from us, it's really BM. We create and innovate, while the rest regurgitate. And while some are envious of what we created here, I'll be thankful for all that I have achieved this year. Folks, we're up against a break. Stay tuned, second half hour coming your way. Lots to talk about.
Don't move a muscle. John LeBang Show, right back.
With lots of fun and excitement, yes! Does your house need a paint job, but you don't want to do it? Then call Tom at Quality One Painting. He can handle all of your interior and exterior painting needs. He gives free estimates and senior discounts. Call Tom at Quality One. 313-982-2986. That's 313-982-2986. Quality One Painting.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
If you want to contact the John LeBang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John LeBang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John LeBang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
In this next segment, we go back to episode 197 as I talk about my path to becoming a radio host. And I'm going to sound like I'm stroking myself again, but it's more humorous to myself than anything else. I remember when I first was like, man, I can do that. I can do that, right? I was doing this TV show. I was producing a TV show for this local magazine who was taking it to video. And they were doing a show, and we were doing it downtown Detroit, called Detroit Live with Darian Counts. And I was the video producer. And I'd watch Darian, just sit up there and just ramble on, boom, 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 just rattling off subjects talking about it. I'm like, oh man, that's easy. I could do that. That's nothing. Nothing at all. I would chime in from way the heck back where I was at. Could never hear me. Just screaming, hey, it's got to do this. And, he brought a co-host in, Sydney. He's a nice guy. I was hoping to actually get the co-host spot. But now that I look back on it, I wasn't ready. No way. Because there was one week where Darian wasn't able. It was one episode. I think we were doing Tuesday, Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. One episode he couldn't make, and I said, you know what? I'll handle it. I can do what you're doing. So I got in front of the microphone, and I just blew it. I had the worst day of my life. I was just like, ah. I didn't realize that speaking on camera in front of a microphone, you've actually got to make things roll and flow, and you can't just take your time. I mean, you can pace yourself, but you can't just randomly go. You have to not be written down prepared, but mentally prepared to step in front of this microphone, in front of a camera, and just go nonstop, just rattle things off. And on that day, I was taught a major lesson. And I took a step back. I was doing the YouTube thing, but it wasn't quite the same. So you would pre-record a YouTube video, and then you would upload it, because I didn't have technology at the time to go directly to live YouTube. And I'm not even sure they were doing live at the time. I could be wrong, but I think that was something that came after when I was doing this. So that show lasted, I think we did it for 6-7 months, and it couldn't get any wings. It just wasn't bringing in enough people to get sponsor support and then to, take the next step. It was costing money because we were at a venue versus having your own studio like I have here. So I have no overhead, unlike the show had an overhead. It either cost an advertisement in the paper, I think, or they had some kind of financial agreement. But I know it costs because you've got to pay for airtime. It's really the studio time, right? You're using their studio, you've got to pay for it. If somebody would rent out my studio, which it's up for rent, if somebody wants to rent out the John LeBang Banger Studios here, feel free to contact me. We can talk terms, and you can yourself have either a YouTube channel, video broadcast, or you can have a radio show and pre-record your stuff here, or maybe even go live, because we're getting really close to that, folks, where we'll be able to do everything live if we wanted to. And we're talking full-blown videos with it looking like a TV station where you have little banners below us. Just like the regular television show. Like a news agency or something. We're getting really close. Thanks to my good friend Robert Bruce, who has been helping me along in the shadows, so to speak. He's been helping me along and getting everything in line here, because I'm doing this all myself. Unlike during the show I was producing, we had an engineer, we had myself, we had Darian, who was running, who's the main host, and then we had Sydney. There was a 4-man team, and then we also had a social media person there getting the word out. So there were 5 people that show had to carry, plus the added cost of renting the studio and everything. It was just an expensive venture, and that was the main reason why it didn't survive, because you couldn't bring in the advertisers to cover the show. Or at least that's what we were told. I went on my own. I started doing more YouTube videos, but now doing that sort of thing. I started listening to Bill Cooper. I started wanting to be a radio personality. So I got into the whole thing. And I started the YouTube channel because that was the easiest thing. I could just upload a video to YouTube, just like radio, though, just have the banner on there, no video. Then I did the Daily Brew. A lot of people remember that. And a lot of people have asked for that to come back. The Daily Brew. That was such a great little news thing that I did. I think it lasted about a year. Then I started getting offers to go on regular radio. And I tried this one station out. It didn't quite work out. It doesn't always work out, you know? It doesn't always work out. So I was doing the YouTube thing, building my style, building my experience, because I was still very timid. I didn't want to say something wrong. I didn't want to have to edit myself. So I was as far as like after the fact, because you would still pre-record all this stuff, and if you have to go in through because you're pausing your or you constantly repeating yourself, or you're stuttering, those things you really don't want on a broadcast. And I wasn't quite ready at the time to just ramble, just go with the flow. I still had issues with speech, basically. Being a personality on the radio, especially, even television, you really have to hone your speech. And I still screw up. I'm working on my vocabulary all the time. I'm working on my grammar and my sentence structure, because I screw that up. When I'm in a rant, sometimes I don't get my sentence out the way I thought about it, the way it was in my head. It came out and it was just rolling. I'm still working those things out. But when I started this whole thing, I was so timid that it's funny. I've come this far that now I can just turn on a camera, jump in front of the microphone, and I can talk about anything at any time. And I don't need notes very often. I rarely need a script anymore. See, there was a period in there where I was even writing scripts for my show so I could stay on point. So I knew my stuff. So I could just go down the list of things and make the show flow. But there came a point, and I'm going to go back to thanking Robert. Robert had a show called Waking Up the Masses on Truth Frequency Radio, and he made me his co-host. And I was his co-host for, I don't know, we'll say 4 to 5 months. And then I would come back here and there every time he was on. And that gave me live experience with a veteran, someone who had been on the radio a long time, who was used to talking on the radio, very comfortable, knew what he talked about, was very knowledgeable, and I learned from that guy. In fact, I think I learned, at least about radio, more from Robert Bruce than I've learned from just about anybody else besides Michael Savage, Rush Limbaugh, and William Cooper. So that's honestly, Robert, that's a good category of guys, at least for media personalities, especially the talk show radio guys. That's a good core of guys to be in. You may not agree with them, the people that are watching this video. You may not like Rush Limbaugh because of his personality. You may not like Michael Savage because of his opinions. But they're really good at what they do. They're masters of it. William Cooper was the best. And Robert's right up there. So I got to learn all these guys. I'm learning from the best, because if you're studying this, if you're trying to become this, you're an apprentice, right? And I'm still, I think, in apprenticeship. I am not a master. I'm getting close to being at least enough to go on my own in the real world, beyond the confines of YouTube and internet radio. It's just a matter of time before a big-time either network or station, I'm talking mainstream, picks me up. Because I, most of the time anyways, speak clearly. I have a straightforward opinion. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I know what I'm talking about.